afternoon, everybody, and welcome in. Here we are on the eve of the Michigan Football Spring Game 2025. A chance to see the Gridiron Gladiators and the Maize and Blue review, or the Maize and Blue, and all decked out at Michigan Stadium. Former Wolverine Jerry Diorio is here, and Jerry, the fans are, excited to see all of the Michigan players, but specifically Bryce Underwood, who will make his public debut tomorrow at Michigan Stadium. How are you doing?
Denny, it's great to be a Michigan Wolverine. I just want to send out there a hearty happy Passover and happy Easter week to all my brothers and sisters out there. Happy Good Friday today as well.
Yeah, I hope everybody has a good Friday and a great Easter weekend, and that is sandwiched in between today, Good Friday, and Easter, the spring game. It's perfect for this time of year, and for Michigan, looking for it is a bounce back season when you have as many losses. They had 5 losses last year, but things have been looking pretty good towards the end of last season. It's one of the big reasons that Michigan fans are feeling good about this year, and also towards the end of last season is when they flipped Bryce Underwood, and now everyone gets to see him. So people are excited about that. And Jerry, Scar always says it. It's the team, and we all know that the quarterback does get a lot of attention and gets a lot more credit than he deserves when the team wins, and it goes the other way when they lose. But it is the centerpiece, and people are excited about seeing everything that Underwood is going to bring to the table. How do you think the players, when you think about going back to your playing days, are looking at, they know everyone's going to be locked in wanting to see their QB?
Well, yeah, Denny, I remember my sophomore year. We were coming off a Rose Bowl champion, Big Ten championship, Rose Bowl championship, Bo's first bowl victory. And we were leaving the John Wangler era and entering the Steve Smith era. And that was a huge question. And it took a toll on us early in the season. Steve didn't have a great game, his first game. But I think the seniors rallied around him. Beyond that, we had a tough year that year. We ended up going to the Blue Bonnet Bowl. But, I can relate to what these seniors are looking at right now. What I'm hearing is a lot of the seniors are pretty confident in what this young man has shown, Bryce Underwood.
Well, that's what you like to hear, and that's what we're talking about today is the spring game tomorrow, a chance to see Michigan, the maize on one side, the blue on the other, some of the players that we have just heard about. And yeah, while Underwood is the headliner, there's plenty of other players that people will be looking at and thinking about as they go down there. And just for those that are thinking about going down there, maybe the first time, if you take a little look at the screen that we have here, the corner of Stadium and Main, right down the street from the Chrysler Center, once you walk in the doors there, that's where the Maize and Blue review will be at 11:15. If you want to come on by and say hi, a little further detail, there is the Memorial Eagle that was dedicated in 1950 right there, the Michigan Stadium War Memorial Eagle. It's right there. You can't miss it. Corner of Stadium and Main, inside the gate. We'll be right over there. And if you go back to last year, Jerry, there it is.
There it is, Denny. How about that? You and I out there fighting the cold last year.
Yeah, it could be a little bit warmer this time around, right?
That's right. That's right. Absolutely. That's a great picture of us, Denny. That looks pretty good.
Well, you look pretty good. I gotta tell you that. So I'm looking forward to seeing you again tomorrow. And Jerry, when you're do you sit down there? Is there a former player section, or do you just kind of sit anywhere you want? You go down. You like going down close? You like staying up high? Where are you at?
Well, last year, Denny, I think if I remember correctly, I was on the field. I talked to some of the former players. I remember having a nice conversation with Barner on the sidelines last year. It was very nice. It was a very nice situation where we got to get real close to the spring game and to the kids, and we were on the field, and that was great feeling. And I got to chat with a lot of those guys, and it was awesome. You know, there's that camaraderie, Denny. There's that camaraderie between Michigan players, and it doesn't end when you leave. And you always have that connection with Michigan football alumni that it just can't be matched. It's something that puts you in a different feeling.
Yeah, for me, for people that go in there and people that go to Michigan Stadium, they know it. I would walk right in towards the 50 and try to get a seat right there. I mean, you just walk right in and there you go. There's a seat. There's really not a bad seat in the house, but you might think, oh, let's go ahead and walk down there. And you keep walking and walking and walking and walking. And it's fine going down, but it's kind of like the Sleeping Bear Dunes, you know, up there by Traverse City. You know, people are like, oh, yeah, let's go all the way down to the water. And they get all the way down there. And then you look way back up and you're like, whoa. And then you start doing it. And then Jerry, you might think you're in, you know, halfway decent shape, but once you climb 10 of those steps, you're kind of like, whoa, I got to take the next 10. And then you take the next 10 and you're like, whoa, man, this is, you know, you start feeling a little bit out there. I don't know if you've had that experience.
Absolutely, Denny. It's, you know, hey, listen, we used to run the stadium, so we know the pain.
Woo, run the stadium. Now because we know the pain. Because of discipline or just conditioning?
Just conditioning.
Okay. Well, I thought you were going to say both. That was going to be my guess. There have been times that I've known that, you know, players have been sent over there.
I'm sure it's happened.
Run the steps. That's right. And I've never run the steps, but I have walked up those steps. And I'm sure the people that are sitting right there, that walk right out and have the seats right there, they don't have to go down. And they see all the people coming up. Everybody's like, woo! You know, it doesn't matter how conditioned you are. You do feel it.
Hey, Denny, I remember going to the Washington game. I think it was 21, and they were honoring us as the first Rose Bowl victory in Bo's years. And we were on the field, and then we had to go through the student section before the game, right before the game. Okay, now that is an adventure because you are just bumped into people the whole way, and you're trying to slither through that thing. Not only is it tough getting up, but it's tough just trying to squeeze through that thing. It was a workout.
I always thought that it would be cool to be one of those students that they pass all the way up. You know, you start down at the bottom. I don't know if it's what the tradition is. If once you score a touchdown, you start taking somebody and they take them all the way from the bottom row and pass them all the way up to the top. You know, a crowd
and then back down, huh? And then back down.
Yeah, I don't know. And then if they pick somebody light or if they pick girl, I don't know if it's women.
It usually is girls, isn't it, Denny?
Girls.
I've always seen girls. I haven't seen many guys getting tossed around like that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe I'm missing it, but I haven't seen it.
It could be. It could be. You know, the first game I ever went to the first Ohio State game I ever went to, I did sit. I was going out with a girl from Michigan, and she had tickets she was a student. She had student tickets. Michigan won that game. They shut Ohio State out 28-0, 22-0, something like that. So it was a good experience. And I liked her heading into the game. And when she had tickets, I'm like, wow, I like her even more. But then she introduced me to her dad. And her dad had seats right there where the band walks right up the street. Might be different now, but his tailgate spot, you know, he said, what do you think of the tailgate spot? And I said, you know, I think this is the greatest place on earth. I mean, he said the band coming by, you had the stadium right there. I said, you know, you've made it, man. This is the greatest. This is the greatest thing ever. And I think he liked me, you know, after that. It didn't work out, but
yeah, Denny, Johnny Wangler used to have that tailgate right there. And now the M-Fam has that tailgate. And the band marches right in front of it. You know, that is a neat thing. I mean, to see that band coming through and chanting, it's great to be a Michigan Wolverine. That was just awesome. Awesome game day feeling.
Wangler, I've never seen, I don't think I've ever been to one of his tailgates, but I have heard stories about how he kind of just holds court I mean, he's got everything. He's got the tables, all the snacks, all the food, everybody, coming in, and they kind of just walk by, and he maybe gives them a little bit of a blessing and everything else. I mean, I've heard it's just a rollicking time over there.
Hey, God rest his parents' soul, but they used to put the spread on, Denny. It was unbelievable. It was whatever, chili. There were ribs at times. There were all kinds of different things at that tailgate, and great memories.
You had me at chili, but then when you added on the ribs, I was ready to go. So what do we have here? Kindtick is saying he saw you after the game, hoping to get a chance to come on down by the War Eagle at 11:15. So yeah, if you're going to be there, look, you're walking in. If you're, I'm going to say if you're a real Michigan fan, but the action, the players start coming in there at around 11:30, noon. But so if you're looking to see, I think Zavada will probably be putting on a show. They're usually the specialists get out there first, right, Jerry?
Yep, absolutely. Yep.
You get a couple kickers out there, and you'll see Zavada.
Hey, maybe we'll see a little bit of what you were talking about on Monday, Denny, the punters.
Well, that's it. Holland back. I don't know. Is Klein going to go out there? They did say that they would be. J.B. Brown on Monday said that they would be looking in the portal for a punter, and it looks like they're looking for an offensive lineman, specifically if you're looking, Mason Blue Review, that they're going after one of the top tackles that is still out there in the portal. That was a little bit of a surprise for me. I don't know. You look at the players and you're thinking, they must be pretty happy with where they're at, but no, it's you can just keep adding and add. If you notice that, Jerry, how they might be getting another running back. They might be getting another offensive lineman, specifically a left tackle. Could be a wide receiver. Could be a quarterback. Could be a defensive back. Could be and will be a punter. So, they're not done shaping this 2025 team. They've got this last chance with the transfer portal to go out there, and it may be, as the rules change and they get this revenue sharing and they come together, and this might be the last chance that you can extend the roster. You don't have to be right at 105. So maybe if you've got the money and the players want to come in and compete for a job in the two deep, which essentially is you're competing for a starting job, and why not bring in as many as you can, right?
Denny, this transfer portal has really changed the dynamics of football. I mean, I remember back in 2021, 2022, and I'm thinking this guy is going to be our center next year. And then we come in, and who is the young man from Virginia who got brought in the transfer portal? So, I mean, that's what you're doing as a coach right now. You're looking to improve your team. It doesn't matter. Am I going to improve my team? I got a good lineman, but is this guy going to make my team even that much better? And so you're always looking as a coach to improve your team, and the transfer portal has just opened that door tremendously.
Yeah, not only a center, in 2022, they came back in the championship year. They got a center, and then they're like, let's get a tackle from Arizona State. Let's get another tackle from Stanford. And it was amazing how many offensive linemen. I was like, what's Harbaugh doing? He can't, play all of these guys. But you know what? In the end, it's nice, sure, having 6, 7, 8 tackles. In the end, Henderson ended up getting hurt. Zinter ended up getting, he needed all those guys, and the guys stepped up like Trente Jones towards the end of the season, and he was awesome. It was a big part of Michigan winning the championship. Needed him, so yeah, you can, you can never have enough depth, and then when you think about the transfer portal, that depth leaving, bringing other guys in, Michigan's in a good spot right now, and that is something to keep an eye on. Speaking of that portal and everything that's going on there, I want to tell everybody that now is a good time it's always a great time. Now is a very good time to join the Maize and Blue Review by going to michigan.rivals.com. You get after the spring game, you say, wow, now we're going to count it down. It's going to be months until the season. And yet we're always talking about Michigan here on the podcast and also over on the Maize and Blue Review. And I have to say that I thought that everything was going just fine over there, but there's a new addition. The recruiting department has gone out and they have made an addition NIL wise. And there is a new recruiting writer over there. And this guy's getting after it. And if you thought, I just can't get enough recruiting information, well, now you got it. I mean, it is there all the time. So I would say, it was always a good time, always the stories, recruiting and everything else. But now it's just an endless stream of recruiting news. So if that's something you're like, oh, I like nonstop recruiting news. Well, we got it for you now. Maize and Blue Review, Michigan.rivals.com. We'll see you over there. We look forward to it. Now, Jerry, I asked you to name whether it was 3 players or 3 things that you're going to look for tomorrow's game. I have also done that, but it came to my attention yesterday. I saw people joking about it on social media that Underwood had gained some weight, right? And I thought, well, that's good. You look kind of, you from the time you're, he's supposed to be a senior in high school, you're a freshman, he'd probably want to put on 10, 15, 20 pounds. Not the kind of freshman 15 that I put on, but so they had some pictures. They had a video of Underwood and people were making fun of it. I just want to show you the picture here. There's Underwood and people are saying that, he's got a belly now. And so any picture you could put up and say, oh, well, that's just a photo. There was also a video of him going up and it does look like, I don't know what to say, a pouch or something there that he's put on some weight. So there's a video and then there's the picture. Now he is wearing a snug little half shirt and everything. And maybe his stomach is sticking out a little bit there, but I'm not making anything any which way. I've seen plenty of pictures of him where he looks just fine. And yet that's going to be the first thing that I look at. I'm going to say, does Bryce look like he's got a little belly?
Well, let's look at it. First of all, he's got a really tight uniform on.
Yeah.
So that amplifies it even the more.
Yeah.
Number one. Number two, I remember going into Michigan my freshman year, and I weighed, I think, 256 pounds going into Michigan. I never weighed that again coming out of Michigan. I actually lost I think it was like 30 or 35 pounds in like 3 or 4 weeks. I was down that far because,
wow.
Yeah, we lost that weight immediately from the 2 days and from football and all the other stuff. He's going to lose some of that baby fat anyway, so he'll lose it right away, and I'm not worried. I'm not too concerned with that.
I wasn't either. People are joking about it. I think I'm kind of joking about it too. It is something that I am going to look at. Somebody mentioned that when Ezekiel Elliott was playing for Ohio State, he had like a tight half shirt, and it kind of looked the same way. You just kind of, maybe he's working his core so much that it does end up sticking out. And I don't know, maybe so his other pictures, Jerry, he doesn't look at all like, look at, so there he is.
That's a totally different picture, ain't it?
Yeah. So that's when he committed right there. So, that's been a few months. This is a recent picture, but he's got a full jersey on. It's tucked in, and it could be one of those where he's got the hand warmers in the jersey, and you blow it up, you can't really see. The thing that impressed, if we're just talking about his physique, and we haven't seen him in anything else, to me, he's got a body of 25-year-old quarterback, and I'm talking like the legs. I remember when I saw him it was either a freshman or a sophomore in high school, and it was just one video of him just zipping the ball. And he was wearing Michigan shoes, and it got everybody really excited. That was the first time that I had ever heard about him. But what struck me just looking at that, I'm like, this guy looks like he's an NFL quarterback already, just physically. So I don't know how big he's going to be or anything like that, or where you'd want him to be. I thought, looking at some of the video of him in high school, that he threw and was built like Lamar Jackson. But Lamar Jackson's, kind of thin. If you go to some, maybe he's going to be a quarterback more like, I don't know, Dante Culpepper, big, Dante Culpepper was a, big guy, and that has its advantages. Guys are coming at you, or like a Ben Roethlisberger, right? These 6'5" guys that the defensive ends come at him and they just kind of push him off of them.
Yeah, exactly.
And there could be some advantage to that.
Yeah, absolutely. But, I'm not concerned with the weight. He's got a summer to take it off. Who knows what that picture showed? He'll be in good shape, or somebody in the strength and conditioning department is going to get fired. But he'll be in good shape. I can promise you that.
Well, I'll tell you, if I look down there and I think, wow, he really does have a belly, that is going to be a story for tomorrow that people will look at. I'm not sweating it out. Jerry, did you go with so it's different now. They've got these streamlined, pads and everything that they wear. Did you wear you wore the gigantic shoulder pads and the
loose shirts that we had to tighten up to, then the tight arms was Mike Webster. That was rest in peace, Mike, but Mr. Mike, but that's who started that tight shirt with the arms. So defensive linemen couldn't grab you. So they couldn't grab, pull, and that kind of stuff. That's why they started tightening the shirts. And these companies have taken it to the nth degree. Now these guys they're so tight you can't get anything between them.
Mike Webster, the great center for the Steelers all those years, right?
Absolutely. Big number 52.
Referencing that. Hadley is sure that we're going to have a great time tomorrow. He wishes he was there. He'd be buying the first round. That'd be nice. Also, what wide receiver do you want to see play the most? That's a great question, Hadley. What wide receiver? Jerry, I don't know. They've brought in, they're going to have 2 transfers, and they're going to have a few freshmen, 2 from last year, and they've got 3 freshmen coming in, 2 that are in for spring. So you get a lot to choose from. Who would you pick?
All right. So first of all, McCulley is the guy I've been looking at for the last couple of years, to be honest with you. I think he gives us that big, strong, agile receiver that can be physical on corners, can threaten them deep. And I think McCulley, and I'm hearing some really good things out of McCulley. I'm hearing that he's playing real well. I was concerned because he didn't play for Indiana last year, if I remember correctly.
Right.
But I'm hearing a lot of good things, and I think he's going to give our young quarterback a target that he can miss a little bit high and still complete a pass with McCulley. So I'm really excited about McCulley. Danny, correct me if I'm wrong, but Simpson hasn't even shown up yet, has he?
Simpson, the Anthony Simpson, the transfer?
Yeah, that transfer.
I am not 100% sure if he is in for spring or not. I haven't heard anybody mention him. If you're transferring in, I would think that, you would be in and be ready for the spring game. But
what my concern is with that room, because that was the number 3 room that I want to see tomorrow. The receivers are the number 3 room that I want to see. I want to see McCulley. I want to see more how he's going to do, how he's going to stretch the field. But I'm stunned that some depth charts have Simpson starting over Shamaj Morgan, and he hasn't even been on campus yet for practice. So I'm a little concerned with that. Is that saying Shamaj Morgan isn't living up to the expectation, or is this Simpson kid that good?
Yeah, I haven't seen that. It'll be interesting to see how they line up here. I think the question mark, there's a big question mark on after quarterback. It probably is the biggest question mark on the team, but it's because you go back to last year and Michigan didn't do anything at all. They were the worst team throwing the ball in all the country. And so
no, I think we're 4th worst, Denny. I think the 3 academies were ahead of us.
Well, yeah. All right.
Being facetious, Denny.
I know you got that part, and then you're like, well, maybe they'll have to go to the portal. Well, they did. The Simpson guy that you're talking about, and then McCulley, who from Sharon Moore on down, anybody that has talked about the passing game, they have talked about McCulley. So I am expecting him, Donovan McCulley, to be Michigan's, if you said, who's Michigan's go-to playmaking wide receiver right now? To me, the answer is Donovan McCulley, sight unseen, so you saying that you want to see what he can do out there. Yeah, that's why the Michigan fans, you keep talking about, well, they need to grab somebody in the transfer portal. They've got their guy. This is supposed to be the guy.
They got the two that they wanted, supposedly.
Well, we'll see about Simpson. We'll see. I think that if McCulley is that guy, he rises up. And, if you've got a legitimate playmaker wide out, well, then he draws the attention. Well, that's going to be better for Fred Moore. That's going to be better for Samaj Morgan.
That's going to be better for the run game.
It is going to be better for the run game. That's
so,
right.
I mean, our receivers really handicapped us last year by not being able to get open. Now, was that because we didn't have the talent to get open? Or was that because our offense lacked imagination to help our kids in the run game and in the pass game? So it's going to be real interesting to see our new offensive coordinator and what he shows tomorrow.
Yeah, well, I'm guessing he's not going to show anything to Brent Venables, down there at Oklahoma that they would use. But that doesn't mean you can't throw it all over the yard and and have some fun.
There's the other side of that sword.
All right.
What if Bryce Underwood throws to McCulley deep in spring ball and Oklahoma sees it and we hit it? Now what? Now what, Brett? Okay, now you got to cover the whole field. So I'm not opposed to showing a little bit more of my offensive book, especially to make them think, yeah, I can hit it downfield. So that's my double-edged sword on that one.
Yeah, well, if I had to say one specific thing that I would be looking for and that I think that the vast majority of Michigan fans want to see, I would think that they would want to see Bryce Underwood cut it loose and throw a deep bomb to, the pick whatever way, McCulley or Browder, whoever you want to say would be receiving end. Yeah, whoever. But Underwood throwing air yards of 50 plus and going in there, and the fans are going to, nothing's going to bring more oohs and ahs. I mean, that's like going to a ball game and seeing a grand slam.
Who's going to be surprised if he comes out and throws it on the first play deep?
First play, I'll be surprised.
I'm you know what? That should be a bet right there, Denny.
Jerry, if I will bet, and I would give you 5-1.
Okay, that's cheap, but okay, go ahead, Denny.
Well, my guess is that Michigan football. I've watched you and Scar now for a couple years on this film review. And what has been obvious is that Michigan hasn't changed much when it comes down to the offensive line. I think they're going to run their bread and butter counter trade, call it whatever you want. The play that goes back to the 70s, that even predates when you were there, Jerry. That is going to be the first play that they're going to run, because that's their identity is still going to be smash, even though they're going to want to throw the ball, and maybe they'll do it a little bit later. I don't think they're going to be doing it sooner, but that's what Michigan hangs their hat on. We could call it run. You can call it Michigan, whatever you want, but Jerry, and that Michigan wants to be, they are an offensive line, run the ball. We're going to tenderize you. We are going to run the ball, and I am guaranteeing that's going to be the first play.
All right, Danny, that's good. I'm glad to hear that. I'm happy you're with that. You know me, I'm a big run guy, but I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised.
All right. Well, it's something to keep an eye on. Well, having said that, Jerry, let's go to 3 things that Jerry Diorio is going to look for in the spring game. You want to go 3-1, 1-3, however you want to do it. Let's go.
Let's go 3-1 since we started with the receivers anyways. Okay. My third biggest or my third thing that I'm looking for is the receiver room. Have we improved our receiver room? Mentioned Soup Campbell coming back with Bellamy. So we've got a lot of Michigan, deep Michigan traditions in the receiver coaching room and the players' room. And so I'm real interested in seeing where we're at with that. Denny, you hit the nail on the head. Michigan is known for the run game. But, man, does it really help when we can stretch the field and hit some passes that are going to back those linebackers up, back those safeties up, and that's going to just make our run game that much more effective. I want to see McCauley. I'm very interested in seeing Shamaj Morgan. I'm interested in seeing Frederick Moore. I think Freddie Moore is going to have a standout year. I really do. I think he's shown some really good things last year, and I think he's going to do some good things this year. McCauley, I think Bryce Underwood is going to find he can be a little bit high on his throws and still have receptions. And so those three I'm really looking at. O'Leary is a good person in the rotation. Bell's gotten, he's had some experience. So you have some names in that receiver room. Are they going to be effective? Are they going to be able to get some people concerned with their playmaking abilities? That's my third thing I'm looking at, the receiver room. How well did the receivers improve? Are we going to be able to get open? Are we going to be able to threaten the field and stretch the field down the field? So that's number 3. The receivers.
Yeah, well, and I think that's got everybody excited. I can't think anybody would be like, oh yeah, I'm not with Jerry. Yeah. And the other part of that is the quarterback zipping the ball in there to see where it's at, the placement, what kind of routes they're running, all those sort of things. The one guy, they've got a true freshman who's caught a lot of buzz or has been getting a lot of acclaim, at least his name has been out there, is Jamar Browder, the 6'5" freshman out of Florida. So he would be another one that I would say that would, in that wide receiver room, that we would like to see what's going out there. Here's somebody, talking about him.
Well, they've got him listed on this the depth chart that I'm looking at. They got him listed as behind McCauley. So, yeah, there you go, Denny. There's another big body receiver as a coach, I always like to get kids and put kids in position that demographically fit with my past successes. Does that make sense? In other words, I like big, long, tall defensive ends. I like stout D linemen, interior linemen. So, those are things that I'm looking at, and Browder kind of fits that McCauley design, and it looks like they're looking to go with a big receiver now and in the future. So, going to be interesting to see what happens in the receiver on the receiver play tomorrow.
If I could add one, Andrew Marsh is also in for spring, and I don't know if he's going to threaten the 2 deep or not. But hell, the Marsh up at Michigan State ended up being a hell of a player in his freshman year. It wouldn't surprise me if this Marsh is too. He is also, just listening to the coaches, he's not as tall as Browder, but it sounds like he's got the length that you're looking for, even though he's 6 feet, and physically ready to go. Hey, some of these guys are 6 feet, but they play like they're 6'4", in terms of whether it's their jumping ability or whether it's just, their flat out arm length. They can go up, and you could say the guy's 6 feet tall, but his wingspan is 6'5". So there's another one to keep an eye out on in Marsh. And the guys, there's 2 guys that don't get a lot of hype, but they were freshmen last year, and you say, well, wow, they, Michigan didn't have any, why couldn't they have got out of the field? Well, they didn't have the quarterback. Channing Goodwin out of Carolina, and then Amarian Stewart as well. And Stewart, I know, is going to figure in the return game. I've heard his name bandied about, punt returner, kick returner. But Goodwin is somebody else. So, yeah, all those wide receivers. All right, Jerry, how about number 2?
Number 2, Denny, I just read an article, and Lou Esposito, the defensive line coach, said that he has 3 sets of defensive line. 3 sets. So that means, is it 6 defensive linemen or 9 defensive linemen. I think what he's talking about is 6 defensive linemen in those 2 interior spots. And when I hear that, that's music to my ears, because if you remember correctly, Denny, and I think Scar would attest to this as well, we both had concerns with the interior 2 that were playing all the time, and we weren't getting any kind of rotation with some of these other defensive linemen. To hear Lou Esposito say that, and Lou has a history of staying with just his starters. When Lou says, yeah, I have 3 sets of defensive interiors that can play and start anytime, that tells me that our interior 2 down, we have a lot of depth in there. And so I'm looking at that, and I'm seeing, okay, the kid from Clemson, Trey Williams.
Yeah.
Pierce. Benny, okay? 3 good names. Damon Payne out of Detroit. So there's 4 very potential good defensive interiors right there. Payne's got some experience from Alabama. Williams comes in from Clemson. So we got a good experience in those 4. And then you start walking in Etta and Uwana, and I can see where Lou is saying, hey, we got 6 defensive linemen that I feel comfortable playing all the time or any time. And that tells me that we're going to, here's the deal, Denny. We had 3 good defensive linemen last year, including Benny, but we had 2 first-round draft choices, okay? And we didn't rotate them much, and they played a lot. And, as good as they were, at times you could see they were tired. Now you've got 6 players in that 2-man rotation, which I'm hoping is what Lou is talking about. We got 6 guys in that 2-man rotation. Our guys should be fresh and going after it every play, and that's going to be some real problems for offenses that are going to face us. Because if our weaknesses are interior 2 on defense, I think we're in pretty good shape.
Yeah, it's tough for me when I think about the guys inside. We'll see. I don't know what kind of gauge we'll be able to get on them. It's nice to hear what Esposito has to say. And those guys all might be very talented, but the tough part is you don't really replace Mason Graham, Jerry.
You don't replace him.
He's the greatest defensive tackle in Michigan history. I know,
maybe one of the greatest in college football history. I mean, you put Sapp in there. You put the kid from Nebraska. What was his name? Sue.
Etman.
Graham is he can be mentioned with those names. I mean, he was dominant for 3 years. Started on a national championship team as a sophomore, and basically was unblockable last year as a junior. So he's going to be picked in the top at least 10, probably in the top 5. That's somebody you don't replace easily. But with depth, you can simulate a little bit because now we got players that are going to be a lot more fresh.
Yeah, I always liked Mo Hurst when he played at Michigan, and then, going back a little ways, I don't know if you probably remember him, Hammerstein and Messner. I mean, those guys seemed like they were pretty good.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, great, not pretty good. Those guys were great.
Absolutely.
Great defensive tackles.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we got a bag being dropped here by Justin. Thanks for the bag, Justin. We like that. He is talking about the South Dakota left tackle who is in the portal, and he is talking about a slot receiver named Hudson as well. Well, we talked about the chances of Michigan. That's why I think, they should already have a pretty good gauge and putting them through the paces, but there are eyes on them now. And now, Jerry, you play the 14 practices and you got them out there and you got a pretty good gauge. And then it's additional pressure with all of a sudden you've got the cameras rolling. They're not going to play the game till next week, but it's different when you're over on State Street and then you come over to the corner of Stadium in Maine, even if it is the spring game. If you're going to go out there and show everyone that, no, they don't need to go into the portal. The South Dakota tackle is named Joe Cotton, and the possibility, Michigan is interested. So whatever that says about Evan Link, they've got Bob Aloha, who's just a true freshman. Maybe they just look for some depth there. The kid that came in all the way from
Danny,
California.
I think it's a lot more to this.
Yeah.
We want the best players out there, and we want the most competition out there. So, yeah, Link started last year, had a pretty decent year. At times we looked at him and didn't look too great, but I think he really improved towards the end of the season. I thought Sprague was kind of dominant against Alabama. I saw him a couple times. He was just dominant against some of the players on Alabama. Now you're talking about bringing this kid in. All you're doing is increasing the depth of your team. All you're doing is increasing the competition of your team. And so now we're going to find out who are our best tackles. And like you said, Denny, injuries happen. Injuries happen. We're just strengthening our roster. That's all. We're looking at all the best options for this team.
Yeah, and here's the name Nitro Tuggle, who's out there too. He was, I believe, at Georgia, got caught up in some of those speeding situations out there. I don't know, but who knows? Like you said, it goes right in there. And let's take some of these feedback. Well, let's go to number one, Jerry. Let's see where you're at on number one.
I don't think anybody's surprised. We all want to see what the quarterback position is, but we want to see how deep our quarterback position is. Jaden Davis has got to show something tomorrow. I want him to show something. I want him to show that he is competing hard against Bryce Underwood, which is going to make Bryce Underwood better, which is going to make Jaden Davis better. So I want the number one concern, like everybody out there, is the quarterback. Now, what I also am hoping, and we're not going to see this tomorrow, but this is something that's going to go on during the summer probably and into fall practice, but there's got to be that similarity between coach and player. They've got to be on the same page on what they see the defense is giving them and how to attack the defense, whether it's an RPO, an audible, or whatever. We've got to have some similarity between coach and player, that they are on the same page and they're going to put this offense in the best possible position. Last year, my biggest concern, my biggest problem with last year's staff on offense was I didn't feel we were very imaginative, and I didn't feel we played to our players' strength. I didn't think we had a very good passing situation at all. So why would we even still keep doing it? If your best situation is pound, well, hey, sometimes you live with the sword and die by the sword. But I want to see those two perform, and I also want to see some of the backups. It's hard when I saw you talking about Keene on Monday, and I think I mentioned this before. I don't know if he's even going to be here next year. I mean, he's obviously seeing the writing on the wall, and when you don't participate in spring ball, you're basically conceding the position, especially when you have a freshman quarterback this heralded. That's an issue. And so we have Jaden Davis, Davis Warren, still nursing he's not, nursing. I did not say that. I did not mean that, but he's coming off a major injury last year. So he's in the pipeline, but he's not going to be ready. Maybe middle of the season. Maybe he'll be in the middle of the season, which gives us a little depth. But we definitely need to go look in the portal to find more depth at quarterback position. I don't believe Keene – I don't know how committed he is at this point in time. And by him not playing in the fall or in the spring, that's tough.
Sharon Moore did say earlier this week on the Big Ten Network that Keene is throwing. So at least there's that sign. That's not practicing, but just back and throwing. So that'd be good. Jerry, I went to three players, and I thought about McCulley, and it would be easy to put him there because everybody's talked about him. But Browder, I stayed with all freshmen, and this freshman class, Jamar Browder, 6'5". There was a small video on MGO Blue where he made a catch, and all of his teammates ran over to him and congratulating him. The buzz is there. I want to see Browder make a big play. Number two is the guy that, if it wasn't for Bryce Underwood, I would say is getting the most hype out of all of the freshmen, and that is the corner who will be wearing number 2 tomorrow, Shamari Earls.
I want to see him, Denny. You gave me 3 things to look for. Defensive secondary is not my biggest concern for this team, but you hit the nail on the head. Earls is somebody we need to really keep an eye on. I think he might be participating a lot, contributing a lot next year.
Yeah, and sometimes, Jerry, for me, going to the spring game, it just really gets the blood flowing, and you just able to it's exciting just to see. Like you go to a practice and you're watching the practice, and it just you start feeling it. I don't know, osmosis, whatever else. You get out of there, man. And you're 10 feet high. You're fired up. You're ready to go. And I know that's the way it'll be. Seeing all the guys out there in the winged helmet. And you don't take too much because if the offense is doing well, what about the defense and vice versa and all of that? But sometimes you see a guy like you watch Earls and let's see. I remember he was a true freshman and I knew Will Johnson was a 5-star, but he was out there at the corner and he turned and you could see his technique. He reached in and I thought, man, even if I didn't know, what kind of player he was, I'd say, man, he looked pretty good. So just seeing how these guys getting in and out of their breaks. I mean, Devin Bush, I remember him pouring into the backfield and thinking, wow, who's this number 10 guy? This guy looks pretty good. So sometimes you just see something and, it jumps out at you. So yeah, Browder and then Earls and then number 1, it is Underwood. I mean, you can't go anywhere else. I hope that, I don't know about unleashing him, but I would like to see him, make all the throws. Can I see him make a little touch pass, whether it's going to be a wide receiver screen, whether it's going to be one out to the running back? Can I see that, that 15, 20-yard out?
Absolutely.
That quarterback throwing that pass. You see it in the pros when these guys are warming up, they throw that one. And can you, get it in over the safety before the safety gets there and over the corner? In that zone defense, that one. And then, of course, the vertical passing game. If I can, if there's one thing, hitting it big there'll be a lot of oohs and ahs. That would be the one. And, with all of that, getting in and out of the huddle and getting the team lined up, don't want to see any, you want to see, you'd say a fine oiled machine, but it's spring. But with Underwood, there's more than just throwing the ball, just getting that snap and what his footwork looks like. Are they can roll him out a little bit? Sometimes you just watch a guy and you see that ball explode out of his hands. No, that doesn't mean that he's going to be an instant All-American from game 1. But, every single step that he takes, we're all going to be watching to say, hey, how does he look? Does he look like the real deal? Does it look like he's, QB1 ready? And right now, it looks like he is going to be the QB1. So, yeah, does he look like it?
Denny, here I'm looking. They don't even have Herb Street's on here on this depth chart, but I'm looking at this depth chart at quarterback, and to be honest with you, I'm a little scared because I'm looking at Underwood, Keene, who I'm thinking he might not even be here. Jaden Davis, we got to see some stuff out of him. Davis Warren, I don't think he's going to be ready until midseason. Not a lot of help in that quarterback room. So if I'm looking in the transfer portal, I'm looking to solid up that quarterback room a little bit.
I agree with you. I do. Let's take some questions, Jerry, as we wrap it up here. You ready?
Okay, go ahead, Dan.
We got another bag coming in from Courtney. Thanks for that. NIL bag, Courtney. It's appreciated. Courtney says he does not understand getting another running back, especially with roster spots being at a premium now. He is headed to Ann Arbor for the game coming from Arkansas. Well, hey, I used to drive to Arkansas 4 or 5 times a year visiting my dad, especially, 2017, 18, and 19 going down to see him. So, corner of the old northeast corner. Poor cotton gin farmers up there, Courtney. So that's it. That's a great drive. We'll see you up here. Jerry, if I could just say that the roster spots, while it looked like about a month ago that it was a firm 105 and there was going to be some guys that were going to be cut, just over in the last week or two, the NCAA looked and they're massaging that number, and it's like a grandfather. I think you can go over the 105 now, and that's important. So, yeah, you can add another piece or two. And I look at some of the players too, and I think, oh yeah, well, Michigan's all set. They got Marshall and Haynes, they got Capana, and they got 2 freshmen. But if you can get a guy and he wants to come in and you think he's a player and he might be able to challenge for your 2 deep, well, ding, 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 ding. That's it. That's what it looks like Michigan's doing. And they're going after it. Any position that they think that a guy can come in and they can get better in their 2 deep, Michigan's got the money and they are willing to go out there and still compete and bring these players in to compete. I'm sorry. There it is.
The running, we feel pretty good about the running back room. Got Hayes coming in from Alabama. Marshall, we saw him against Alabama last year. We got 2 starters. Losing Hall, I think that tells you what our running back room looks like. I don't think Hall leaves if he doesn't think he's going to be in that rotation, at least in a semi-major way. So, Hayes and Marshall give us a good combination, good 1-2 punch. Capana, interested to see what he's going to do. But again, you're only looking at 3 right there. It's not a bad deal to put 1 more. And if the NCAA is going to open up that 105, why not?
I want to get this question in from Justin, who's talking about hockey. He says he wants to help the hockey coach look for talent and make them play faster and harder. Justin, I don't know if you saw this, Jerry. I don't know if you saw it. Michigan had 2 players from last year's team decide to come back. The Canadians, who are in the playoffs this year for the first time in a while. Michael Hayes was their first-round draft pick a year or 2 ago. Hayes is coming back. TJ Hughes, nice player. He is a goal scorer, really nice player. He is coming back. But now the presumptive number 1 pick in the 2026 NHL draft is a kid named Gavin McKenna. And Gavin McKenna, he is in the class of Bedard, of an Austin Matthews. I don't know about McDavid, but he is looked at as a generational talent. Over the last 3 days, there's been incredible buzz that Gavin McKenna is coming to Ann Arbor to play for Brandon Naurato. And if Naurato gets McKenna and you've got players coming back and then you get a generational player, I think that's going to be like the Pied Piper of other players saying, I want to play with McKenna too. McKenna I watched 2 highlights of him and I had never seen, there's one play, he's doing some kind of spinorama from 20 feet away and he puts it in the top shelf. That's all I needed to see. I was like, wow, that's one of the greatest goals ever. Then he did a Mike Legg goal, from behind the net where he was, on the move. He wasn't even stopped, something I'd never seen before as well. I mean, this guy, yeah, he's a generational talent. So, Justin, you ask, and if you didn't know that, remember the name, McKenna, Gavin McKenna. If he comes to Michigan, Yost is going to be sold out. I know a couple of years ago they had 3, 4, all those different players from, Powers and right down the line. But, this is a dynamic generational type player that we're talking about.
Well, Denny, it goes back to the old, what I think I've mentioned this many a time here. The NIL and the transfer portal is really allowing Michigan to show its strength. We've got the deepest pockets. If we can get these kinds of talents, it's just like Bryce Underwood. When you get a Bryce Underwood, now other kids want to come in and play. Now you're talking about hockey. Now you got other kids wanting to come in and play. What does Michigan offer?
Everything.
It's in my opinion, if you've got a coaching job at Michigan, you've got one of the best jobs in the country without exception, if not the best job in the country. And I'd go as far as this. The Michigan head football coach is the best coaching job in the country. Why? You have the resources. You got the NIL money. Number one, you got the network. You got the alumni network, and don't discount that. When I'm being recruited, I'm looking at all this network coming in, and they're talking about the greatest alumni of all time. I'm thinking if I blow out on a knee and I can't play anymore, I might be able to get a job with that alumni. Number three, we got the best facilities, and we got some pretty doggone good facilities. So when you add all those three up, and the opportunities that Michigan gives you in the future, you're looking at the best jobs in the country. And I would argue that Michigan football job is the best job in the country.
I'm not going to debate it with you, Jerry. I think you're right. This might be a little personal for you, Jerry. There's a question coming in from CFADC who wants to know where you got that tan from. Did you have a good time?
Yeah,
and then he wants your thoughts on the spring record before seeing Michigan in the spring game. So you got a three-parter there, Jerry.
Yeah, Denny, I had some heart issues a few years ago, and I just said, you know what, life's too short, and I said I'm going to Florida 3 months a year. I can't stand the cold in the winter time. I can't stand winters, so I go down to Florida 3 months a year, and I don't have a one individual place. I kind of bounce around, and been to Orlando, been to Miami, this year Port St. Lucie, Daytona. The wife and I have a pretty good time.
Kids, that's it. Go to Michigan. You can end up like Jerry Diorio, man. I tell you, I'm looking up to you, Jerry. It's everything. I just dream it, man. I just live vicariously through you. I love it. I love to hear about it. All right. So, yeah, he has had a good time. He's always got that. Somebody's always saying, why is Jerry smiling? He's like, look at, he's down in Florida. He's got a beautiful wife. Come on. That's why he's got a big smile on his face. All right, Jerry, how about your the record for Michigan next year?
All right, Denny, I went out and I said last year we were going to win a national championship again, back to back. I knew all the obstacles in front of us. I was concerned with Wink Martindale blitzing a little bit too much when he had all this talent that he could just play back and play base. And we ended up with an 8-5 season. But at the end of that season, we won two very important games. When you go down in Columbus and beat Ohio down in their place, and then go down south and beat Alabama in a bowl game, that gives you a lot of hope for the following season. I think the Oklahoma game is going to be huge as far as the record is concerned, not as far as playoffs or anything or Big Ten or anything else. But I think as far as record is concerned, the Oklahoma game is going to be big. Remember, Oklahoma beat Alabama with a very very lower average Oklahoma team, and what was it, a 500 team beat Alabama. So that's going to be a hostile place to win. If we can win there, I think the schedule is very favorable. I think we should be competing for a Big Ten championship and definitely in the playoffs and making a run towards the national championship. There's no reason not to think so. And if Bryce Underwood matures and comes along fast enough, I think with this defense, I think our defense is going to be the best team in the country next year. I think our defense has the capability of being the best team in the country. I'm not talking about the best defense in the country. I'm talking about the best team in the country. Okay. And if our defense comes up and plays stout and our offense and our young quarterback develops, we have a very good experienced offensive line. We've got very good running backs. We're going to see about the receivers. I like our chances next year. I think 2 losses is a lot, and I wouldn't be surprised I'm beaten.
I have nothing more to say. That's a great spot to end it. I love it. Love to hear it. Jerry, I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. Remember,
I want to make one more comment, Denny. Justin just brought up about the broken national championship trophy. That's what you get when you lose 2 and finish 4th. Hail to the victors, Denny.
There he is, Jerry Diorio. He'll be at the spring game tomorrow. We'll see you over there. Take care, everybody. Thanks for watching and thanks for contributing. We'll see you tomorrow.